I've had this figure requested a lot, especially over on TikTok. And I even got called out by a handful of viewers for the fact that I have this exact figure in my profile picture, but I don't even own it. So I decided, screw it, let's go out and get it. I guess the reason why I didn't get it until now is that back in the day, I actually had a problem with spending that much money on a figure. But if you take a look at my videos page, you can see that's obviously no longer a problem. So here we are. I should also state that this is going to be my very first Medicos figure, so I have no idea what to expect in here. Now, with all that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. You guys know the rules. We're going to be starting with the box today. On the front of the box, we have a nice giant open window. We're not going to get a peek at any accessories, though. We only get to see Jolyne there. It wouldn't be a JoJo's figure without the logo, so there's the logo down there, and we get Jolyne Cujoh, and what I'm assuming is also her name in Japanese there on the side. Flipping to the side, we get the exact picture that's in my profile picture, which is just a pose of Jolyne kind of standing there. Now, on the back side is where we're going to finally see some of the accessories that are included. As you can see, we get plenty of different poses of Jolyne, and of course, a mini showcase of her string right there. Down here is going to be the included accessories. Sorry about my light here. It's kind of creating a nasty glare on this box, but I'll try to get it to where you can see those two still shots of Jolyne's face. I believe that's just going to be the two different sculpts that come with this one. We also get the stand and a handful of hands and different types of string related accessories. All right, now we can go ahead and pop this baddie open. As you can see, there's actually no tape anywhere this time. I don't know if that's like normal for Medicos or not. I did get this directly from Ami. I'm gonna pretty much assume that it hasn't been tampered with. I'm gonna open from the bottom just so that I can keep the top looking all nice and neat. There we go. Boom, boom. So here is the big reveal. And it's kind of weird to open it from the bottom. Lately, I've just been used to pulling them from the side because I've mostly been doing Figuarts. So that was kind of like a nice little change for once. Let's go ahead and slide her this way. I'm not sure what this bottom box is going to actually be for. Okay, it's got the instructions there, and then obviously the stand, more accessories. On top here, we get those accessories. I do kind of feel like they could have packaged this a little bit more efficiently. I feel like there's a lot of wasted space here, but maybe we should take a look at these instructions here. They are sealed in a plastic bag, but I'm going to go ahead and open it anyway, just in case there's any sort of information or functionality that I'm going to be missing out on here today. This whole page does seem to be in Japanese, so unfortunately I can't really do much with this one, but this one does have images on it, so hopefully that'll kind of help narrow down what we're supposed to be looking at here. I'm just going to be upfront. I have no idea what this is showing here. I guess it's showing how to put the hand pieces on, and yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. The rest of it is just in Japanese, and the backside is completely blank. We'll go ahead and throw those to the side, and I think we have nowhere to go from here except outside of the box. So let's go ahead and get our snap in. Now, obviously, we have some very interesting accessories here to take a look at due to the nature of her stand, and I'm not exactly sure how some of these things are going to work today, so we're going to be figuring all of that out together. First things first, obviously we're going to have to remove that plastic from her waistband and from her chest area here. It should just pull out. Yep. She has some in the waist as well, and then some covering kind of her like little half cape skirt thing here. Now this thing is seriously, it's very different from what I've been used to as of late especially. It almost feels like what you would get if a Figuarts and an Amazing Yamaguchi had a baby together. But anyway, obviously we have to get into the paint and sculpt first here, so let's go ahead and talk about the face detail that we're seeing. It does look very, very nice. I'm not seeing any sort of paint problems. It is a little bit sloppier than we would see on something like a Figuarts or Mayfex, but that's okay. It's honestly, like I said, it's more like a Yamaguchi than anything, minus some of these articulation points that I'm seeing, but we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Everything does seem to be engraved very well. Like this emblem on her chest is engraved, all that webbing that's on her shirt there, and then same with her pants. It's all engraved, which I see as a huge W. It just shows that Medicos do care about how it looks and feels. Here's gonna be a shot of her pants here, which have a lot of detail in them. And then we have these little squares, which to me look very accurate to what we got in the manga slash the show. Ooh, okay. That's nice to know that we have toe crunch. But yeah, no, it doesn't feel half bad. It looks really good. And yeah, they engraved it everywhere. So that's definitely going to be an easy pass in the paint and sculpt department. I don't really have anything to complain about other than some of the paint looking a little bit shoddy. More specifically, just in the hair. The face sculpt doesn't look too bad. Her eyes are very vibrant. Everything's in the lines. Let's go ahead and get a look at some of this articulation. We're only going to get 1 point of articulation in the head there, and that's going to be for rotation. And then she has that little joint right there that allows you to rock her head up and down. No tilt. Well, a little bit of tilt, not a whole lot left and right. In the shoulders, we're not going to get any sort of butterfly joints, which in my opinion is kind of ironic considering that Jolyne has butterfly tattoos and symbolism everywhere. But we do get full 360 rotation there, and it does seem like a little bit of an amount of rotation in the bicep there as well. I do wish that it was a little bit lower, like our more standard bicep rotation. I don't really see this joint being entirely functional 9 times out of 10. If we look at the elbow here, we are getting kind of that double joint scenario that we see with a lot of the Amazing Yamaguchis, where it just has a ball on each side. This one does have the nice cap on the backside though, keeping it from looking like a Yamaguchi for the most part. And as you can see, she has that little butterfly tattoo there, which again, not a bad paint job. It's super small and super detailed. I would say they didn't do half bad there. Obviously, we're going to get chest crunch. You can go all the way back just like that. We're getting just about as far back as Tubi did, and realistically, pretty much the same as like your standard Figuarts, Mafex, or Yamaguchi can go. I don't think there's full rotation in the chest though, and honestly, I don't want to force it. I do feel like I'm going to pop her off that socket there, and I'm not entirely sure she's going to go back on. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it and say you're not meant to do full 360 there. You can get really far back in this waist piece as well. I don't know if it's really translating well, but it does feel like we're getting a lot of movement there. Obviously, we can also rock side to side, whether that's in the chest area or in the waistband as well. And we can get kind of far when it comes to like a sit-up. Not super impressed, but it works just well enough. No drop down thighs, I'm noticing. This is the first figure in a while that doesn't have drop down thighs. So far the articulation is okay. We just see better on a lot of other brands. You can kick pretty high up, and I'm gonna have to test her other leg because of her little skirt thing here. You can kick pretty far back as well, which obviously is unrealistic for a real person to do this, but in JoJo's, any sort of pose or physical movement does seem to be possible. The knee is going to be pretty much the same thing as the elbow there. We do get double jointed movement. This part is super loose for me. If anybody else has this figure, let me know down below if you're getting that same issue. The other leg doesn't seem to be that loose for some reason. Oh, I also forgot to mention that we do get thigh swivel as well to a certain extent. It is really... Oh, see, just like that. It's pretty tight. But now that I have it off there, I'm going to go ahead and try to rotate it a little better. Yeah, and we get full rotation. It's just kind of hard with it on there due to this skirt piece on the back, but we'll go ahead and pop her leg back on. Usually, I only see that with bootlegs. It was nice to know that it wasn't on so tight that it would have snapped coming off like that, but at the same time, it could have been a little bit tighter, I want to say. Moving on to the feet, I have toe crunch. Can't go super high up. Yeah, that's not super great. And overall, the foot doesn't have great range of motion. I can spin in a full 360. One POA that I did miss earlier, I talked about how you can't rock the head back and forth on that joint, which is true. However, there is a second joint that's hidden in her neck there that I did not notice the first time. Well, that articulation is a little bit stinky, especially when we're talking about a JoJo's figure here. But as for paint and sculpt, I would say that it does exactly what it needs to do, and the presentation there is very nice. Sadly, I'm just not a fan of the way that they tackled the head sculpts on this figure, and the problem really starts when it comes to this joint here. So if we pull her head back, you can definitely see that there's just a ball joint, so we're gonna go ahead and pop her head off, which I will say is super easy to get her head off. But when it comes to getting the head back on, I found it to be a little bit awkward, like the ball was misshaped or something, and I had to press extremely hard just to get it to snap into place. Also, the peg was like super loose for some reason, causing her head to wobble really, really badly. At least on my figure it was. This might not be the case for everyone though. Here are both of the head sculpts that are included with the figure. The one on the left is going to be the one that comes on Jolyne. The only difference is the one on the right side is showing a little bit more of anger, and the one on the left is just going to be like a relaxed option. I will say her skin is a little bit darker on the right side head sculpt. I'm not really sure what that's about. So yeah, like I said, I'm not huge when it comes to the head swaps. I do think the head sculpt and paint job is fine, but for the most part, I'm going to be picking one head sculpt and just sticking with it. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on to the hand sculpts here. Weirdly enough, there's not actually like a full set in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you what each one looks like. The first two seem to be open palm ones, and it's a different variation on each hand. The right hand is going to have the thumb protruding out just a little bit, and the left hand is just going to be more of like a concealed open palm. The next set, which I'm assuming are going to go more towards these like stringy hands, are showing finger guns for the one, which I believe is just going to shoot string out of it. The other hand is just going to be kind of like a weird string manipulation hand is what it looks like here. She's kind of got like her two middle fingers pointed down just a little bit with a slightly closed grip palm. There is this hand with black stripes on it as well. I'm not really sure what that does quite yet, but it looks to be almost a variation of this other hand hand where it's that fully open palm, I think we can go ahead and call these Jesus hands. The accessories are just going to be these different types of string, having this little loop here, which I do believe is going to rest between her hand and her forearm when we snap the hand back on. There's another variation of this, which does seem to be a little bit straighter. It also has that ring on there as well, and it is a lot smaller. We have like a super twirly option, which I do believe is going to connect here to her finger guns. This does seem to be an option where she's going to be able to be shooting. Lastly, we got a whole different hand that's just showing string kind of dangling off of each finger. Again, we have more of that green fingernail polish, and it is kind of like a slightly open hand. I couldn't really see this one being used as like a fighting pose. This one will be more for like a static stance. I also forgot to mention that we did get a set of fully closed fists that came on the figure. When it comes to popping off the hands, they do slide off just as easily as a Mafex. It does seem that they utilized the same system there, with it just being like a flat peg that the hand will just slide on and off to, rather than having a ball joint there, which I do personally enjoy this method a lot more than the ball joint method. Here's going to be a look at that set of closed fists. There's the one side, there is the other. We do have a little bit of green fingernail polish. These two are fully closed and they are exactly the same. One of the pros to them using this flat stick rather than the ball joint is going to be putting these actual string pieces on. Should theoretically be a piece of cake. You should be able to slide that on there and then it'll pop right on over the top, just like that. Super easy peasy. I know the hand is wrong. I'm just doing a functionality test. Earlier, I said that the second piece of string would probably also sit between her hand and her forearm. I believe I'm wrong here because the hole is very small and I'm not actually able to get it on there. So I do believe this one's supposed to stick, say, somewhere like on her finger. Even then, so it's not exactly going on super easily. It goes on there, but it definitely falls off super easily as well. So after doing a little bit of research, I did find out that this piece right here does not actually connect to the end of her fingers. It's actually going to slide on this peg here and act as a hand, which is really funny because it actually allows us to wobble and pose it however we want. As for the other pieces, it's pretty much just going to be up to your imagination. If we do take the finger guns, we are actually able to take this piece and pop it right over her fingers, and it's just going to show this little string here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Just going to show this string kind of hanging off the tips of her fingers there. As for the others, you can pretty much just get as creative as you would like to be, but this piece I do believe is supposed to kind of hang off of her pointer finger on this hand where she just has her finger kind of raised a little bit. Let's also go ahead and get a quick look at this stand here. It is completely sealed on all four sides, so sadly we are going to have to cut it, but the contents include just the base, which for some reason breaks away into 3 parts unless mine's broken. Oh god, what have I done? Oh no, it actually does just kind of break away into 3 parts. I couldn't really tell you what that's about. If I put my hand here, hopefully we can kind of see that there is like an engraved JoJo's Bizarre Adventure logo. Maybe I need to get it on a darker background for you guys to be able to see that, but it is definitely there and it looks very, very nice. It does look like this is just going to stab into her back, as there was a hole on the back side if you guys didn't see. We have an articulation point on the bottom, middle, and top, so pretty standard stuff here. As far as popping it in, not bad at all. It got the job done. On the back side there, we have this ugly text here that says at Lucky Land Communications, and then I'm assuming that's what it says in Japanese. Not really sure why they put this along the edge there. They could have like maybe hidden it a little better, but it is what it is. You can see that I have that little hole there and the stand just pops in. Not really sure why they made this peg super long. It does tend to stick out a little ways and it looks kind of janky if I'm being honest. So that is a little unfortunate. I don't know why they didn't include a claw with this thing, especially at that price point, but I guess it is what it is. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Is it a good figure? Objectively, yeah, it's not bad. I think it's punching upward at its competitors, with Figuarts and Mafex having way better options for articulation and build quality. But then again, this figure is about 10 years old if I remember right. So I would say at that point in time, it's definitely knocking the ball out of the field with this design. I do wish that they would have gone for a more cartoony style there when it came to her hair. They could have made it a little bit flatter and just done more of like a cell shaded style of paint. I just kind of feel like it would have fit the rest of the figure a lot better. Obviously, it worked very well for Medicos to be able to incorporate all of the accessories that came with the figure into her hands. So I definitely appreciate the simplicity when it comes to this figure, the look of the figure and the feel of the figure. Like I said, it's just the articulation that was a little bit behind in terms of action figures in this price point. I was not impressed with this stand at all. I thought it was kind of weird and janky. It does feel pretty tight, but like I said before, we could have used a claw. I think the stick is a little bit too long, and why does it break away in 3 parts? If somebody could go go ahead and let me know down in the comments, then I'd probably feel a little bit less crazy about this. But yeah, that's gonna go ahead and do it. I want to say thank you all for watching all the way to the end of the video. It really does mean a lot to me. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, stay awesome.